Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back. I have one of my favorites on today, Lisa Fernandez. Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be here. How come I'm not your favorite? That's what I want to know.
Well, I maintain some, but yeah, I can go there. But I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to try to get all of this in, but all of your accomplishments, Lisa, 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time Honda Sports Award, which I think all of our younger athletes need to know what that is. You were the first softball player to win the Honda Roderick Award, which is the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy, 4-time All-American, Hall of Famer, and then I am going to say it out loud, the greatest of all time. I'm not the only one that puts GOAT by your name, but I'm going to put it out there.
Arguably, there's some pretty talented athletes, that's for sure. But thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm going to be controversial then, because I think you're the greatest player, greatest pitcher, greatest hitter. I mean, you're all around. So I have to say that. I'm going to be honest with you. So I've known you for over 20 years. I can't believe it's been that long.
It's crazy.
I am still probably your biggest fan.
Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you.
I have so many memories of you. I was at every game, 96 Olympics. What, can you pinpoint one that would be your favorite memory?
Well, I've been blessed. I've been very fortunate. It's hard. I mean, there's different circumstances and different situations. I mean, I probably remember plays than certain games, but you know, to me, every game, whether it was at the Olympics, believe it or not, I know this kind of sounds crazy, but you know, to me, I just love to play, and it didn't really matter where the game was at, who it was against. It was just about loving and playing this game. You know, Dot Richardson was a huge role model for me, and just, you know, her positiveness and how she would always express to me, just enjoy this game, love this game, appreciate this game. And it has always stuck with me. And, you know, as I grew and continue to play in this sport, I just appreciated every moment. I mean, obviously the Olympic Games, they will always stand out. I mean, there's great stories regarding those, the UCLA, the championships, even playing 18 and, you know, back in the day, it was, you know, 12 and under, 14 under, 16 or 18 under. Times have changed in travel ball. But, you know, I mean, gosh, my earliest memory was winning the first national championship in 12 and under. I mean, that's how old I am. So, yeah, I mean, gosh, it's been an amazing, incredible journey. And I think probably more of the games that I remember are just the lessons that I learned by playing the game, even from when I was 8 years old or 7 years old, all the way up until, and I continue to learn, you know, until today. So kind of a long-winded answer to your simple question.
No, it was, that's why I love having you on here. I'm going to stay with the Olympic theme though. 96 Olympics, the last pitch out, you win. I was there, I saw you, but do you remember what you were thinking? Do you remember the feeling?
It was dramatic, right? I mean, coming in relief, you know, I started at third base. Michelle Granger got the ball and was doing incredible. Actually, I think I came in relief with a runner at third, and I think I over-nuked a ball, and I think I ended up throwing it by Gilliam Bach, so I think was catching at the time, and maybe a run scored, not really sure, but man, I think we worked a first and third play, and Dot transitions the ball and throws a runner out. I mean, just great memories of those Olympic Games. And, you know, the final out was, you know, a rise ball and seeing the batter, you know, swing underneath, and, you know, just I mean, obviously overwhelming elation, but really it was a hard fought struggle for those athletes of the past. And finally having the opportunity to get our sport, our game to that level of recognition was incredible. And I think, as everybody can attest to, you know, the 96 Olympics was really the games of the female athlete. with what we were able to do, what soccer was able to, gymnastics, basketball, I mean, you name it, swimming. I mean, the Olympics of 96 was some incredible accolades done by female athletes and female teams. And so to be in that companionship or that group of women was incredible in terms of bringing notoriety to our sport, and really to be able to do it for those athletes who had played on Team USA and maybe just couldn't make it, the Jill Justins and the Duffeses and those athletes that I played with, who were teammates of mine throughout the battle of getting to that Olympic team. And we were representing them. I mean, and all the way back to the Sharon Backuses and the Sue and Chris's and the Joan Joyces and the Margie Wrights and Bertha Tickies and all those athletes who really did pave the way for us to have this opportunity. It's a credit to them, and it was what we played for, is to represent our sport and all of them in this biggest moment. And that was what 96 for me was about.
That was my next question, because Dot mentioned some of those same names. Of course, you brought up Bertha Ticky, which I had the pleasure of watching. That's how old I am. I was really young though. But my question was going to be this, because after the game, and I walked up to you, and you shared your gold medal with me immediately, which I was in awe of. Who was it? I mean, you named all those names. Who was it that you really looked up to as a kid when you played, like when you said the 12 and under national championship? Who did you recognize then?
At that time, there wasn't a lot of people on TV for me to identify with. Right. So I was very fortunate, very blessed. My parents were extremely supportive. My dad was always proud of my strength and my size. And, he would grab my, hit my leg and be like, yeah, strong, and, play with your heart. And, really, to be honest with you, my mom played slow pitch softball, and she played with women. It was a league that she played with every Monday and Wednesday. And I would go with her to the fields. And so I would see these women who were in their late 20s or 20s and 30s competing hard. And I was like, man, this is a fun game. Like, and it was slow pitch softball. And that's really what I thought I was going to grow up playing, was to be like these women playing slow pitch softball. Some of them incredibly athletic, and they were my role models. To be able to see them and think, wow, I could be. I mean, I remember Donna was one of the names, and Lindsay were two of the names specifically that I remember watching play. And so I grew up on that field, and they would let me take BP slow pitch, but after games, or sometimes I'd even get to coach third base. So here I am, 5 or whatever years old, standing on the field watching these women compete. And so maybe they were probably my role models in terms of starting me into realizing how women could be athletic and how it was acceptable, and the camaraderie and the athleticism and the competition and how acceptable it was. And then, saw my first collegiate game. I want to say back in, I don't want to say how old I am. But
I'm older than you, Lisa, so.
I think it was UCLA versus Nebraska, and I they had like a snippet of it on TV, and I was like, whoa, I can really do this in college. And so I've just been fortunate to have continuous doors of opportunity that throughout my career have opened up. And like I said, it was a credit to those athletes that played when it wasn't acceptable, and played when they had to, for the most part, pay. And there's still athletes that still do because they love this game, but probably more so when it wasn't as easy, and they were fighting for the opportunity to have leagues and parks and equality and all that stuff. It's really a tribute to them that allowed me to have the career that I have. I'm indebted to them. And Dot Richardson is one of those athletes. I was fortunate to come in at the right time behind her so that I could kind of continue the path that she created from the athletes that were in front of her. Dot always talked about passing the torch, and she took great pride in that, and being able to kind of carry on what this game is about from those athletes before her. And I kind of took on that desire to want to be that role model to help build the sport also. And hopefully we've passed on the torch to the Jenny Finches and the Kat Ostermans, and hopefully it's the Rachel Garcias and and those athletes that are still continuing to do great things. The Valeriotas, who are currently on the Olympic team, and hopefully they'll get to play in 2021, that are going to continue, driving the sport, the Monica Abbotts, and keep providing opportunities for these kids coming up.
Well, Jenny Finch gives you all the credit.
Oh, she's incredible. Not just an incredible ball player, but just really an incredible individual.
You are who she looks up to. That's her. Oh. Yes, that is her. But you brought up your parents. I love them. Love your parents. You have a story that you were told you couldn't pitch, that you're not going to be big enough, that your arms aren't long enough. And you were in the back seat, kind of upset about that. Take it from there.
Yeah, no, my mom is definitely no nonsense. I mean, just very simple and very direct. And, she just always has told it like it is. I mean, gosh, I remember, being 10 years old, and I was at a practice, and a coach said, man, you run like a turkey, because I wasn't the fastest, obviously. I was a good base runner, though. Good base runner. Just the fastest time. Instinct. I had the instincts. And I was like, Mom, can you believe, this coach said I ran like a turkey? And she's like, well, then get faster. I'm like, okay, guess I got to work on my speed. I mean, she was always one of, and always has been someone that has, hey, you're in charge of your own destiny. What are you going to do about it? You're not going to let people tell you what you can or cannot do. And obviously in this circumstance, when I went to this pitching coach, he told me that I didn't have the build. I wasn't tall enough. My arms weren't long enough, and didn't know if I could ever make it. Yes, I was upset in the back of the van and, crying, and she just turned around and, stop crying, and, don't let anybody in life tell you what you can or cannot do. You may have to work a little harder. You may have to give a little more, but if you really want it, it'll be worth it, and you can do it. And, from that moment on, it was almost like it was a motivator. I'm going to show you.
That was your motto throughout your whole career.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know if I learned or if I was fortunate, but I've always had a prove people wrong kind of mentality. I enjoy attempting to do things that people think are not possible. You know what I mean? Because I like the awe of, wow, look at what she did. Yeah. So I was always kind of willing, I don't know, fear of failure. I mean, I guess that's all part of it, but I think that's my, why not? I mean, if someone else can do it, why can't I? And so, yeah, I mean, like I said, my parents were instrumental. I mean, when I think, and that's what makes me nervous as a parent myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, please say the right thing. And, because I realize, how important the things you say really are to the kids that, in their development. And so, there's critical moments of, make sure you say the right thing. And, I was fortunate my parents did. I mean, my mom was incredibly supportive. And like I said, my dad, was always in my corner.
Oh, yes, he was. He was a big fan of yours. Still is a big fan of yours, I'm sure. So
sometimes he could be my publicist. I know.
Oh yeah, he can. But he's great, and he's telling the truth. It's not like he's exaggerating. Who taught you that changeup?
It was interesting. Ernie Parker was my pitching coach. Has passed away, but instrumental. Incredible man. Really took me under his wing and man, had the work ethic that was comparable to mine. I mean, I remember going to the park, and even though he'd be giving a lesson, I'd, kind of pitch to the side, even to get one little, eye from him, just to make sure things were all in order. And really just a humble guy that was willing to want what was best for me. And so he would take me, Don Sarno, huge instrumental. And Ernie would take me to go to Don Sarno, ego aside, he wanted the best for me. And if it was reaching out to tap into other sources to be able to get a little bit more spin or a little different thought that might help get me better, Ernie was willing to do. And fortunate that I had those types of coaches in my life, as well as someone like Larry Mays. But he actually took me to a Cal State Fullerton game, and I saw a pitcher called Megan, and I can't remember her last name, but I believe she was New Zealander. And I saw her throw one of the most incredible changeups that I had ever seen. And was it Debbie Megan? Was that her name? Not sure. Anyways, I tried to imitate it, and we went to work, and we're like, well, we think she throws it like this, and we just kind of tried to emulate a changeup, and I don't know if it ever was like hers or I just kind of invented my own, but it was through trial and error and just being a student of the game.
I think you invented your own. It's a hard pitch to throw.
And I think that is the name of the picture that I saw.
Yeah, I don't know how many people I have watched knees buckle. You could say, here it comes, and it would still do its,
I don't know about that, but yeah.
Well, what was your biggest struggle, Lisa? This is the one thing I want people to know about you. What was your biggest struggle?
Probably my biggest struggle, I guess maybe disappointing people. I think that to me is something that probably what pushed me to, overtrain and over prepare is I wanted to make sure I didn't let teammates down, or, I mean, geez, even got to the point where it was like my country down, right? So really shouldering that burden, but taking great pride in having it. I knew that I had a lot of responsibilities, so managing that, that was probably my biggest thing. I mean, there was a lot of sleepless nights, anticipating big games and, could I do it? And I knew people were depending on me. Yeah, I mean, I think from a perspective of athletically speaking, I think that was probably the thing I managed, and that's probably why I did overtrain. I mean, I would prepare for every scenario possible because I wanted to make sure that I was ready no matter what circumstances could happen. And obviously I was a pitcher and I played third and I hit, so I played some integral part of the team, and I knew that obviously if I did my job and not letting any team score runs
Right.
along with the defense, we were going to have a good chance of winning a lot of ball games. And so that was, yeah, I mean, I obviously took this game very seriously, and I mean, that's, hopefully my teammates knew that, and when people saw me play, they knew how important it was for me to represent them.
Well, and that's a great segue, because when you cross the third base line or first base line, but when you cross that line to take the mound, you went into a different way. Would you think that's what took you over?
Well, I think people would know when it was game day. They
Yeah.
knew even before I got to the field.
True.
I mean, it wasn't, I didn't think about the game just on the game day. I mean, there was a process and a method to my madness. I mean, I scenarioed the Olympic Games years before I ever played an Olympic game. I mean, there are times when I'd be working out, and if I ever wondered why I was doing what I was doing, I was visualizing myself throwing that final pitch, and that's why I'm doing this, and when I was kicking my own butt. Which is something I tell the Bruins, sometimes you got to kick your own butt, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're getting after it and you're working out, that's, obviously there's a choice you make sometimes. And if you ever need that motivation to figure out why you're doing something, to me, it was visualizing those games and those dreams and being on that stage, whether it was for a national championship or it was for an Olympic gold medal. It was seeing myself there while I was going through those workouts. And so, yeah, I mean, when I got to the field and it was game day, I mean, there was an intent on wanting to be great, and there was a seriousness about it. And people, my teammates would know that, and they probably know me better now that they understand it than when I was younger and I didn't understand it, because like I said, why are people going to the mall? It's game day, you know what I mean? But everybody, I think I finally learned, when I had my kids, that there was actually something that was more important than just softball. I mean, obviously my family was extremely important, but outside of that, softball was what I did and what I loved. And when I had kids, I was like, whoa, softball is not That's important. I'm like, wow, this is weird. I get it now. Okay, this makes sense to me. So I've matured, obviously, as I've gotten older. I'll be honest with that. I mean, I definitely had a strong mindset when I was a competitor in my intent to, like I said, that was probably my downfall, is the preparation and wanting to, be great so that I didn't disappoint. And so, yeah, when I was in the dugout, there was an intent and a focusedness, and literally when I would get the glove, and I'm very superstitious. So, I would take that glove from the catcher and she would hand it to me, and she would give it to me like a handoff from a quarterback to a running back. And, she's the quarterback, I'm the running back, and let's go. We're breaking down and we're scoring touchdowns, and I wanted to have that mentality of being aggressive and being strong, and presence is very big. Presence is very big, and to be able to display that. So yeah, I mean, when I crossed that white line, it was business for sure.
For sure. So another great segue, because I want you to talk to the players of today. So you were told you couldn't do this, and then you took great pride in getting it done. What do you say to players of today that want to be the next Lisa Fernandez?
I love it. I mean, to me, it's being able to express to them that it is possible. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it is possible. And it's not about being the next Lisa Fernandez. It's about being the next great version of yourself.
Great point.
Yeah. I mean, and that's all you can ask, is can you be the best version of yourself? And that may be better than Lisa Fernandez. That could be better than Jenny Finch or Kat Osterman or, Crystal Bustos, if you talk about offense, or Natasha Watley, whoever that may be. But all you can ask is just to be the best version of yourself, and to give yourself permission to be great. Sometimes in this day and age, we do have a tendency to want to knock those down that either show or gain a lot of success, or show the work ethic that it takes to be great. Sometimes those people get knocked down, and that's why you really have to surround yourselves, because it's UCLA, we talk about top third. You want to surround yourself with top third people. Bottom third people are the ones that want to pull people down and have them be mediocre. It's tough to look at people that are great and wonder, God, they make me feel bad. You know what I mean? And that's unfortunate. You know what I mean? We should elevate those people, and if anything, try to be motivated by those people and uplifted by those people. But sometimes in society, we try to knock those people down. And so that's why I think it's critical. And like I said, I think about many instances in my life where I could have gone in a different direction. And God has sent me people that kept me in the right path, from my parents to the coaches to, Dot Richardson, can't talk enough about her. She came into my life, when I was a senior in high school. It was obviously a critical age, and, really, no, Lisa, you love this game, continue your passion. Because I thought, man, even as a senior in high school, and I was graduating, getting ready to go to UCLA, I'm like, am I crazy for loving this game so much? Like, how come no one else wants to just go watch a softball game? And how come no one else is really, studying it and really wanting to learn about it? And God, I met Dot, and she was like, come on, let's go. And she took me under her wing and really showed me that it was okay to love this game. And then obviously I got to UCLA and found people that had that drive, from my coaches, and Sharon Backus and Sue Inquist to Kellyanne Away Perez, who's still in it with me. And we're still at UCLA as a teammate, to Kirk Walker. These people have been so valuable in my development, because they continue to support my dream, and that it was acceptable, and that it was okay to be one of the lifers who could stay in this sport for as long as I have. And I encourage that with whether it's a Bruin or any athlete, play as long as you can. It is okay to love this game and have a passion for this game. It teaches you so much. And so,
you have this much time to play softball.
Oh,
and you have the rest of your,
just love it.
The one thing I really want to impress upon the young girls is that you're a wife, you're a mom, you're an Olympian, you're a college coach, I mean, you can do it, right? You're not limited in what you can do. You can be a
No,
mom and be an Olympian.
yeah, and I think that's, now I'm on to the second phase of being a role model. I'm not saying it's easy, but once again, it's about who you surround yourself with. Very fortunate to have Kelly Inouye Perez as my boss, and Christina Rivera as her boss, and Martin Jarman now as our new athletic director.
Yeah.
Just the support that we receive is important, and you can do it all. You surround yourself. Very fortunate that Gina Flores is someone that I grew up with, who's been an integral part of my life, that has allowed me to travel with my kids. My mom traveled with my kids for a good part, and when she wasn't able to, then I was fortunate to have someone that was able to come in, and they've grown up with me on the road and have been a part. And there's a time and place, right? There's sometimes when I'm all about mom, and then there's sometimes when it's like, hey kids, got to shut the door. I'm going to have a meeting right now, and it's about the Bruins. So, I kind of talk about it as an extended family. Got 25 girls, got 2 boys. Like, let's go. I mean,
Your daughters practically, yeah.
No, it's possible. It's possible for sure.
So my thought is, and I this is where I do get controversial. I want to know why I can't buy a Lisa Fernandez jersey. I want to know why.
Well, you could at one time.
I want to know why you still can't. I want to know why we can't go to usasoftball.com or whichever and buy a Lisa Fernandez jersey or a UCLA jersey. Why can't we? We can still buy. I mean, people know who Ted Williams is, Babe Ruth. I want to know why we can't do that. And I know you're not to be the person to answer that.
Yeah, hopefully you're going to be able to buy a Lisa Fernandez doll, but we'll see about that. But, right now we're to a point where, support for the long haul is not where we would like it to be. I talk about this a lot. You have a lot of people that are willing to work with the ups and downs of other professional sports, and they stick with it. And it takes time because you have to create that fan base. We quite haven't had that support that has been able to last financially through the ups and downs to really create something that has sustained over time. And I'm hoping we're going to get to that point where we can find those critical individuals that realize how valuable this game is. And truly it's valuable for multiple reasons. I mean, it is truly, in my opinion, one of the few sports, although probably the most difficult, because obviously hitting a round object with a round object is not the easiest. But in terms of the characteristics that are needed to play this game, it truly caters to all in size, in strength, in development. I mean, there are so many different attributes that you can have and still be successful playing this game. There isn't one thing that you have to be a great softball player. You can be fast, you can be strong. I mean, you can be tall. Maybe you're not tall. You know what I mean? And so on. And that's what I love about it. We come in all different shapes and sizes and experiences. But the one thing that we all love is to compete. And, the one critical component is, are you resilient enough of an athlete to play this game? Because it is about failure, especially if you're an offensive player, you fail 7 and 8, not 8, but 6 out of 7 times. And, you're an awesome hitter,
right?
but you have to be able to recover. Yeah. So it's a great learning tool.
One of my segments is a player of today to ask you a question. And Braden Pruitt from the Missouri Bombers wanted to know if getting to the Hall of Fame was one of your childhood dreams, and if so, what did it feel like accomplishing it?
Getting to the Hall of Fame, once again, I think I got into my first Hall of Fame as a freshman in high school. I was inducted into the Lakewood City Hall of Fame. Mike Piazza was an individual who owned McDonald's, and he had a Hall of Fame created in there for all the athletes of the city of Lakewood, which is where I went to St. Joseph's High School in Lakewood, California, and won a CIF championship after my freshman year and put me in the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, wow, for someone to believe in me that much, I owe them, and I owe them to be great. over a period of time to validate their belief in me. And I took it once again as another motivating factor to be able to prove that they were not wrong in voting me in, even though I was only a freshman. And I used that. I was like, I'm gonna support, and I'm gonna prove to everybody why you put me in as young as I was. And so anytime I'm inducted into a Hall of Fame, I've been so fortunate to be inducted into um, some of them. And yeah, I mean, that was my goal, was to be able to be great over time, to be able to once again validate those people who believed in me young.
Yeah. Well, that, I mean, and the Collegiate Player of the Year award now is in your likeness.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was super cool. I mean,
isn't that cool?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I got the call from Chris and USA Softball, and they wanted to do this, and it was just so humbling. Yeah, I always thought, man, I really will have made it when I'm able to talk about other athletes and have that opportunity to present an award to someone else, and to be selected for that. And I thought, wow, I mean, that is, yeah, it's, I'm speechless. I mean, just an incredible honor, and to be cemented as one of the best that has played this game. I mean, although it wasn't my I guess I wouldn't be telling the truth if I say I didn't want to try to do that. I mean, I wanted to be great, and I wanted to, as I said before, do things that people didn't think were possible. But to actually see it come to fruition and realize that, those days when I put in that extra work, although there's some incredible athletes today, and I'm like, dang, would I have been able to get away with doing that?
You still have in mind, don't you?
Athletes, and I'm like, how are you so good? And you hit like, half the amount of time that I did, but I'm like, you're amazing. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to chance it. I'm glad that I was able to do, because I probably wouldn't have been as good if I would have, scaled back any more than what I did train. And like I said, I did overtrain. I'll acknowledge that, but like, I never wanted to leave no stone unturned, because I experienced that one year very young, and I vowed that the worst thing you can ever tell yourself as an athlete is what if, and never wanted to experience that again after losing a game. So yeah, for sure. My teammates could probably attest to my craziness.
Well, that seems to be both a blessing and a curse for you. It drove you to be the best, but it still kind of haunts you a little bit too, doesn't it? To try to not disappoint somebody.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that was my motivating factor, was, not wanting to. Oops, sorry.
That's all right.
That was a motivating factor. Yeah, it was a positive, but it was also something I took personally, and there were some sleepless nights of, being able to make sure that, was I prepared? But I think it's what allowed me to be great, is to have that ability to take on that challenge.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, I don't think I've ever told you this. You have taught me so much about how to teach the game and how to break it down. And you have been so valuable in my coaching career. I still want that at bat. I don't know what we'll do about that.
You might be able to actually foul tip one. I haven't really been throwing too many circles since COVID, but mentally, I'm still getting the reps in, just not physically.
You're awesome, Lisa. Thank you so much for taking time and being on this show. You're a true legend of the game, and I appreciate everything that you do for it.
No, thank you. And it's a pleasure to be on your show. And yeah, you're doing some great things. I'm glad you're getting some people out there, and you've had some great guests on. And I think it's really cool to be able to kind of, we need to know our history. So I appreciate you doing this.
Maybe you can help me get a hold of somebody on the Bertha Ticky family, because I know she's gone, but I would love to celebrate her.
Yeah, they had the women's, the women's division, and they had the Bertha Tiki Award, and was very fortunate to be able to win that. And
Right, you did.
yeah, very huge, and
I forgot.
very honored to have had that experience. So yeah, she's definitely one that has left a mark in our sport.
Well, Margie Wright puts you right there with Bertha Tiki, so I
Oh,
agree.
I don't know, maybe Joni's got Joan Joyce.
Is she not the best? I love Joan Joyce. I had such a great time interviewing her.
Competitor, man.
Oh, she was.
Cheryl Topley, competitor. I mean, we're Carol Spanks. I mean, there's some incredible,
Yes, they're out there.
incredible athletes. So
I want everybody to know them.
yeah, I was fortunate to kind of come during that time where I got to meet a lot of them, and then now kind of bridging the gap to those kids that are, getting ready to do some incredible things and take over this future. So super excited for what the future has out.
Well, I look forward to watching the Bruins play this year.
Yeah, so do I. Knock on wood.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.